Welcome to Success in Motion. Join us as we dive deep with top leaders, entrepreneurs, and professionals, uncovering strategies to grow, scale, and succeed.
Welcome back to the Success in Motion podcast. Today we have an amazing guest on here with us. He has flipped over 1,000 single family homes, raised over $150 million in private capital, and owns over 1,500 units throughout a few different diversified strategies he's used. So please welcome with us today, Matt Owens.
Thanks for having
So
me,
thank
Alex. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. We're glad to have you on here. So I gave a little bit of preamble of what you've been working on, but go ahead, you catch us up yourself. What have you been working on?
So, just to give you a little background on myself, I'm a CPA. I quit my CPA firm job in 2006 to go into real estate full time. So, I was a real estate genius for about a year and a half before I got my ass handed to me by the market change and the crash there, of course. And thought I was dope and realized, no, you're not dope. You don't know anything yet. And, but it was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me because it taught me how to stand back up because real estate and investing and all these strategies is really a lot about standing back up and learning lessons and finding the right path for yourself. And if you can't do that and you stop in your tracks from one hit, then you're never going to get there. And since then, I have flipped a little bit over 1,000 houses now. We have over we've raised, like you said, over 150 million for real estate. We have over 35 million lent out to flippers in different markets. And I do a lot of different projects where we focus on mobile home parks and multifamily and private debt structures and lending and all different types of diversified structures to kind of help investors create that financial freedom in their life and also mitigate taxes along the way because I'm a CPA and hate paying the government money. So want to
We all do.
find the right strategies to implement for clients that we work with in that way. And it's a lot more fun than working at a CPA firm doing tax audit and the stupid stuff that goes along with that, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you mentioned how, everything crashed. It fell all about you. You're like, whoa, what's going on? What were you able to find? What strategies have you used to take it from everything fell apart to now doing all of these crazy deals and massive success you're having?
Well, I attribute a lot of it to working with different investors and protecting their money when things go bad, where when you're doing a fix and flip deal and you're going to lose money on it or something like that, or it's just not working out or there's extra costs, you find a way to put up that extra money. You take the financial hit yourself and your investors will continue to invest with you over and over and over again. And that's what happened in 2008. I ended up taking out, $200,000 on my credit cards because I had a 790 credit score and never missed a payment in my life. But at that time I was like, oh crap, my investors are going to lose money. Let me take that money myself and go give that back to them. And then 6 months later, they realized, oh my God, the whole market crashed, even though I knew about it 6 months ago, and there was no liquidity in the market and things like that. And then we saw a big dip in the market. And so there was a big opportunity to buy there. And all those investors started reinvesting with me. And so I started realizing, saying, oh my God, these investors are the lifeblood of the business. And so I need to learn how to raise capital. I need to learn how to do that. I'm seeing a ton of deals out there, coming on the market. 2008, 2012, there was, blood in the streets and tons of deals flow out there and everything. And the numbers looked amazing. I was buying houses for 15 grand and putting 30 into them, and they're worth 150 afterwards and things like that in the Midwest markets that cash flowed really well too. And so I would buy them, renovate them, tenant them, and then resell them to investors that wanted to own them either in their IRA or their 401k, or I would joint venture and hold them myself. And that's how I started ending up with a big chunk of individual houses that we own and a lot of units, is we were just doing that, over and over and over again. But really the lifeblood came from learning how to raise capital and be able to deploy it into opportunities that we knew how to operate. And so that strategy was key, and protecting your investors is literally everything in that strategy, and also showing them how do you mitigate risk along the way, right? What do the numbers look like? What risks are they concerned about that you can answer for them? We had people asking, well, what if there's a fire? And well, obviously you have insurance for that. Most people know that, but a lot of investors don't understand that. They're just like thinking about what questions should I ask, because they are new and don't understand those things. So you have to be really good at explaining risk and how you've mitigated that risk and how much you care about your investors and what you're going to do to protect them along the way and why you structured a deal a certain way to protect them every way you can. If you can do that and raise the capital and then learn, even specific niches or work with operators that already have those niches, that already understand those things, you'll be in a great shape for being able to, expand your real estate career, expand your cash flow strategies and things like that, which is really, really cool to be able to become financially free through doing that. Like we have investor clients of ours that they're traveling the world living off a promissory note income from our lending business and stuff going, this is dope. I'm going to Colombia and I'm sitting there doing all the work going, great. How come I can't go to Colombia with you right now?
You'd have fun
So
with that, yeah.
yeah, I got little kids too. So I got a 9-year-old and a 6-year old. We are going to go to Vietnam this year for about 3 weeks or so and go on vacations. But at the same time, I'm like, dude, I want to be this guy. One of my clients is traveling the world, not worrying about stuff because he's invested enough money. So it's really interesting things to strive for.
That's awesome. No, I absolutely love that, how you really just created that relationship, the trust. Your investors knew, hey, even if things go wrong, Matthew, he's got us. He'll take the hit. And then, you're probably doing a lot more deals when everyone else was still floundering back then.
Yeah,
So
I mean, sticking to it and grinding and, you run towards that towards a problem, right? When everything's crashing, everybody's running from real estate or running from a sector, you're going to be focused on trying to acquire. What is wrong with that picture that creates an opportunity in the first place? And, if there is another crash, which is going to be hard to do because of the lack of inventory levels and things like that right now, and we could have job losses. There's a number of I'll say black swan events that could come up to change the market, the trajectory of the market. I personally believe there's going to be long-term inflation across the board. I don't think that there's any way out of it unless all of a sudden they, completely cut the deficit and stop, spending. But we'll see if that happens. Might happen for a few years and then it might change again. But I doubt it. Right. So at the end of the day, it comes down to deploying strategies that you think are going to work long term in a market and continuing operational expertise in those specific strategies so that you can weather any storm in a market too. But there's a lot you can do with real estate and a lot of strategies people don't understand. So you got short-term rentals, you have long-term rentals, you have fix and flip projects, multifamily, mobile home parks, self-storage type of deals. You can do different like rental strategies with nurses and combined housing. And there's so many things that you can do. Being able to specialize in a couple of asset classes or focus and understand and work with different operators that specialize in those asset classes is key to your long-term success as an investor or even an operator.
absolutely, absolutely. And I know a lot of people I've talked to, they look at the real estate world. It's like, wow, there's so many options. Again, there's all those classes you mentioned. There's
Right.
so many different opportunities, so many different strategies. And they just look at it and they're like, wow, that looks really complicated. They kind of
Right.
shut a book on it, they walk away. So, for someone who's interested in getting into the real estate world, what are some tips and tricks you give, kind of those beginners who don't know where to start?
I think it comes down to understanding the individual investors. So there's the people that have capital already and have a job and they just want to invest passively in real estate, right? And they still have their income sources. They don't need to go and make active income flipping houses and doing all that stuff. And then there's the people that maybe don't have all the capital yet. They might have some capital, but not enough to like get them going on creating a passive cash flow stream so they can literally retire off of. And so then it's important for them to be a little bit more active on their deals as well to add additional resources like can they source deals? Can they raise capital? Can they help with operations of those deals? Can they do business structuring? I've made money on financial modeling, these two 47-inch wide monitors behind me, to do financial modeling. It's like the most awesome thing a CPA can do, right? Is to be able to like financial model yourself into a deal, right? And you can also go through and say these people are going to do these specific tasks for you, and how do you actually mitigate risk within the portfolio too. And so I think it comes down to who you are, right? And where your position is. If you're the type of person that has all the capital right now, or you have an income from a job and you can slowly invest into real estate to build your cash flow stream to cover all your expenses to retire and quit your job if you don't like your job, right? I did the opposite. I quit before I was financially free, but it was a harder road, trust me. But at the end of the day, those types of people have options because they can now go invest with different operators, different markets of the country, and different asset classes passively, where they don't have to qualify for the financing. They don't have to do all the work on the deal. They don't have to go and do any operations or find the deal or put up all the money themselves. Usually they can invest 25, 50, $100,000 into a project passively, and that might be from a pool of 5 million or 10 million for a project. So they're owning a percentage of that deal, and they're relying on an operator that has experience in that space to do that deal. Now they got to know how to do their homework and do we utilize I have a 200-point due diligence checklist on my website. It's just MathewOwens.com, my name, and one T in Matthew because it's my parents couldn't spell. So, but we use this checklist for our own stuff when we're analyzing our deals to say what operator questions should I ask about that operator and their experience, right? What deal questions should I be asking about the risk of the deal? Can I look at the financial model as well to understand like what assumptions that operator put in place? And do I agree with those assumptions, right? To be able to understand that financial model. And then, of course, the legal side and knowing and understanding the paperwork and asking for advice if you don't have that kind of level of knowledge, right? To be able to ask your attorneys or ask other people that are in the space to understand those documents. So there's kind of like four different segments of due diligence that are done, and you do background checks on the operators and criminal checks and ask for references and see what their previous deal experience is and what their investor reporting is. There's a number of things on that checklist that we utilize across the board when we're doing our analysis on deals before I to invest anything because I invest actively, but also passively too. And it's important to have both. And if you're an active operator on the other side of things, then you really want to typically specialize in a niche, right? Or a couple of niches, or start with one, slowly grow through that process. Like if you're doing your first flip, you really should be using someone else as a mentor to walk you through that because there's so many aspects of it that you could lose money on, right? Or if you're doing your first multifamily deal or first of anything in any asset class, bring in experts that can help you with your deal, pay them a piece of it to be able to help you, and now your success rate is going to shoot through the roof, right? Because think about just a normal fix and flip project. You have to make sure you know your math right very well, cover the downside risk in case the market collapses or drops by 5% or so, or 10% in a 6 or 12 month period of time, which is a crash, if it happens that fast. You have to understand construction, know how to deal with the contractor contracts, how they steal money from you, what things they do wrong, and how to check and balance those contractors to keep them on point so that you're not losing money, making sure you have rehab buffers and things like that in place. There's so many little steps in this process that could drag a process out too. The city not having all your bids up front before closing, and having your proper due diligence package with inspections up front and things like that before closing. So there's so much that goes into it. You're going to have a big learning curve. Yeah, you can make a lot of money, but go get that mentor that's going to help you to not lose money in the beginning. The first deal I ever got under contract was I bought a duplex, right? And I quit my CPA firm job as soon as I bought it. And I was like, I'm done. I'm going to make 30 grand on this thing. I'm making 100 grand a year. I'm out. I can't deal with it anymore, right? And realized I made 20, and then I had to split that 20 with two of my stepbrothers that were also quit their jobs to go into real estate, and they were computer programmers and electrical engineers, and I'm the CPA that's supposed to learn how to talk to investors. Like none of us had personalities at that time. We are just like not happening, right? So, but yeah, you learn the hard way. If you don't have that mentorship, if you don't have the right team in place to help you, the contractors, the property managers, the realtors, the construction management team that maybe can be outside of the contractor, those other mentors and things like that. These are all things you learn, but you can add value. And you don't have to be the guy or the girl that's going to flip everything yourself either. You can operate in different ways. You don't have to just flip houses. You could lend capital. You could lend other people's capital, and you better know how to save their money and make sure they're protected first, right? You could raise capital for a project or add value to someone else's project and learn with them too, because they already have maybe 10 or 20 years of experience. So it depends if you're the passive investor or the active investor. And once you're active and making enough money, then you can also be the passive investor too. And that's the whole idea. Because if you're active investing, you just have a job, but you're also building assets to create freedom, and you're working to create those assets. Just like Rich Dad Poor Dad says, work towards building the assets to create that freedom in your life. Don't work and trade your time for to someone else. Now you can do that by working with someone else and then investing passively too, until that passive income covers your job income, and now you can quit whenever you want. So
Absolutely. So I really love that. You really play to your strengths, you play to what you have, what's available, you hire out the mentors, the help that you need to really make sure you have all your bases covered, and you just go with it until you made what you want.
right,
So
right.
you were talking a little bit about, Robert Kiyosaki, his Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I love that concept too. The idea of building your passive income to even potentially be able to replace your active income.
Right.
Obviously, you love real estate, but I'd love to hear just your thoughts on building that passive income. What have you seen be effective? Where do you look with it?
Well, I'll have to tell you. So one of the strategies, or a couple of strategies we use, is debt investing and then equity investing in actual deals in properties, right? So the debt side, we do hard money lending to flippers in different markets around the country, and we lend it out at higher rates and use our investor capital and split profits with them at lower rates in different fund structures. And then that's how we make a profit off of the interest rate spread, and that's how we do that, right? And but we have to know how to mitigate the risk and make sure that those background checks and criminal checks are done on the flippers, and we understand the property, the collateral, get the appraisals, get the rehab bids, test and check all those items and everything else, right, to be able to do that strategy. And then you have the equity strategy, which single family home purchases are great, but right now it's a little inefficient for us. We're dealing with a lot of mobile home park assets and things like that, because there's big value add plays associated with mobile home parks, and I think they are recession resistant as well. And so I like that asset class, because you're always going to have a tenant base that is going to come in consistently if you know how to run it right and manage it right. You can do utility recapture, you can add more units to empty slabs at parks, you can renovate down units at these parks, that you can clean up the whole area and increase rents. There's a lot of ways to add value to a mobile home park. We also do short-term rentals because they cash flow really well. We're doing 18 high-end short-term rentals right now that are sleep like 16 people, with shipping container pools, golf simulators in the basements, and rock climbing walls in the basements for the kids and things like that, where we're really doing it up. And we even have one that has a full gym, a sauna, two ice baths, and things like that we're building. And but these are full, and they're historic properties, so they're full renovations down to the studs and redoing all of it, and it still has that historic look to it. And so we're targeting a specific niche, right, for that particular asset class. And so we didn't want to go with just a normal 2 bedroom or 1 bedroom place for a business traveler. We wanted to be unique and go for a certain segment of the market. And so these are the strategies that we implement across the board and find ways of working with. We also do different structures like accounts receivable financing that comes with a much higher interest rate for our capital, and we're just looking at that collateral to the value of the asset. Where's our spread and our risk mitigation from looking at what is the value of that asset versus what our cost is of that project. So there's a number of deals you can do, but if you're first starting out, or you're starting out investing in real estate, and you're trying to be an active operator, the most important factor to your long-term success is your mindset. Hands down. I've taken so many punches in the face. That's why I say a lot of times losing everything in 2008 when the market crashed was probably the best thing that ever happened to me, because it taught me how to stand back up and have a strong mindset and move forward. I've gotten stolen from multiple times from contractors. I've gotten stolen from friends of mine. I've gotten, different businesses where things go wrong. We've taken hits on construction. If you don't have a strong mindset where you can brush that off, focus on the solution and how to solve that problem, instead of it's all easy for us to go and step back and be stressed out. And, I remember instances of telling my wife to put her hand on my chest because I can't breathe because I just lost a salary today, and stuff like that. And, taking big hits like that. We had a contractor steal $450,000 from us on like 8 different projects, right? Like things like that hurt and they're emotionally challenging. And so, how do you get through that? You have to be able to brush it off emotionally and say, okay, how do I fix this problem, move forward and make money and make even more money? And every time I've done that, I've actually made more money from not only the lessons that I learned, but the better operational procedures being put in place, but also the pure grit and ability to move through the next challenge. Like they're taking a major hit where my whole ego was, I got a 790 credit score. I'm a CPA. I'm dope right now in 2005 and six or 2006 and seven, and looking back now, I'm like, that was great for me because it was everything to me and my ego was destroyed. And now I'm like, where's that left hook gonna come from that's gonna knock my ass out again? And be careful. So, and what it, and I know it's going to happen now at some point. I'll lose money again. I'll take another hit, and I'm prepared for it and ready for it mentally to be able to work through that. Doesn't mean sometimes I don't wake up at 3:30 in the morning with alligator brain going, take action right now, but you can at least push through and focus on the solution and saying, what action items can I do right now to move this forward? And so I think that's probably the most important thing to your success when you're an active investor. And you're going to have issues like that passively too. There's going to be deals that don't go right. And you can have to learn from those and say, what could I have done on the due diligence up front? What was the reason this failed? Did that operator not have enough experience? Did they not have their accounting team in order? Did they not have their marketing team in order? Did they not know how to operate that deal in the first place? What can I learn so I don't take those types of hits? And you could have the best operator in the world and something could go wrong with a deal, and you don't have any control over it. It may not be the operator in the first place. It could be interest rates going up by 5% in 3 months or something like that. You know what I mean? So that's a scary, crazy thing that happens in the economy. In 2008, it was a liquidity crisis that occurred. But if I had better operations at the time and had more experience and learned how to raise more capital right in the beginning like that, I would have been in a much better shape and would not have had those types of hits too. So I learned a lot of lessons that the hard way that way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, I love your mentality of just, you take the punch, you keep going, you learn from it, you keep
Push.
going. No matter what's coming, it's going to happen. Again, if the more you're in this world, the more something will happen eventually.
Right. And
It's
I'm not
just
even
are you
talking
willing?
about the health things and,
Yeah.
trying to have work-life balance. I have a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old. And, I had the best thing in the world happen the other day when my son was driving with me. He's like, Dad, can we talk about how to run a business? And I'm like, yes, we can, son. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Super
This is
excited about this.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. So as we're wrapping up the interview, what exciting plans or initiatives do you have coming up in the next, say, 6 to 12 months?
So right now we have a single family fund that is actually coming up, so investors can own fractional pieces of single family homes and different package of those. We also, like I said, we're doing a short term rental fund right now as well. We have multiple funds that we're launching over the next 12 months, and to be able to invest in different opportunities, both debt and equity structures like that, consistently. And I'm looking forward to taking some time off. I've actually structured my business now to be able to, take a little bit of time and be able to take some vacationing time and things like that. And it takes a lot to do that if you're running a business, having the right team in place and procedures to do that. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that and just really helping investors create that financial freedom in their life through the different strategies that we deploy. So.
Yeah. So that is awesome. All right. Well, again, you've had great thoughts. You've had great tips for us. So if anyone would like to connect with you more, where would be the best place to go?
Just our website, MathewOwens.com with one T in Matthew. We have a due diligence checklist on there, that 200-point due diligence checklist. We have a free quick analysis sheet where you can put in 5 numbers and analyze any property's flip or hold strategy. And we also have a master class on how to raise capital, how to find deals, and how to analyze those deals as well. So we just try to add resources and help people any way we possibly can. So all that stuff is free as well. So
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. You gave us your most valuable resource. And we'd also like to thank our listeners for spending their time with us as well. And thank you so much. And we'll catch you
thank
on the
you.
next episode.
Awesome.
Thanks for tuning into Success in Motion. Want to share your story? Visit successinmotionpodcast.com/guest to apply and be featured on the show.